Hey, what's up, y'all? It's Jodo Jake. Welcome back to the channel. This is Cards and Coffee, episode 5. I have an iced Americano. 4 out of 5 Diglets. Definitely 4 out of 5 Diglets. Anyways, in today's episode, I want to talk to you about the next set is the best set mentality. And this is kind of focused on singles as a collector, not necessarily sealed product, but they they align in certain ways and they obviously connect. But there's this constant trend of chasing the latest and greatest in this hobby. And the Pokemon Company is really good about keeping us chasing that carrot, right? Like as soon as we get a new set, we're seeing leaks for the next set, or we're already seeing the pulls from the Japanese set of the next set, and we're constantly just chasing the latest and greatest. I've been in that headspace where I'm collecting the latest and greatest, and it's problematic. I think it really affects the way we collect. It really it makes us lose track of what we want in our collection because we have this sense of FOMO. And trying to reframe that FOMO mindset is extremely important in this hobby because you are going to miss out on things, especially if you're chasing the hype. Because if you're constantly chasing that next set, you're going to miss out on not only the present, but the sets that people aren't really looking at that it came out within the last couple of years, right? I think a good example of this, and I guess this is just a tip for you, is like look at early Sword and Shield, early Scarlet and Violet. I would probably stick to Scarlet and Violet early. Like I look at Miraidon, Koraidon from Scarlet and Violet base. I think of the Ralts line from Scarlet and Violet. Like, those are not getting any attention. Miraidon and Koraidon are still extremely cheap raw cards, but we have special illustration rares that are coming out of the gate 20, 30x the price of those cards. So I'm trying to paint a picture that really take a step back and think about how to handle new leaks, new drops, and maybe narrow down like how much news you absorb. What's really sad about the Pokemon hobby and just collecting in general now is that we don't have that excitement about a new set like we used to, especially as kids growing up with the original sets. Like we didn't know what was in these sets until we opened them. We know about what's in these sets months in advance. We know about sets that haven't come out, before another set. Like we have Mega Evolutions coming out. That's the Mega Evolutions base set, ME1. And then we have ME2, Phantasmal Flames, coming out in November. And we've already seen numerous products. Pokemon Center is probably going to drop Phantasmal Flames as I'm recording this video. I'm going to try and keep it short, but that's not the reason why I'm trying to keep this short, because I've had comments on my videos saying that they're too long, but I'm sorry, y'all. I like to rant, and sometimes there's things that I just don't want to edit out because it's part of the whole process. So if you stuck through my last video, that was 45 minutes of me just looking at Lucario promos, props to you. I appreciate you. But yeah, I really just want to emphasize staying in the present. I really have been finding joy in looking for some of the cheaper illustration rares and some of the cards that I just bought Mousehold. How I needed Mousehold from Paldea Evolve for so long. I had no idea that card was like 45 bucks. Like, cute cards, man. Cute cards are successful. They always will be successful. There's a place for that type of collector. But yeah, I needed Mousehold. Not even a fan of that Pokemon, but I needed it for the binder. But I've been looking at cards that maybe have gone through that hype cycle in the past, right? And that actually is a good time to bring up card of the week. Now, I want to start doing this where because it's cards and coffee, right? Why am I not showing off any of my collection in these videos? I'm sipping coffee, talking about cards, but I don't have any cards with me. But today I brought a card that has an interesting story. Just what, 2 years ago? Wow, I can't believe is it 2 years? Yeah, wow, 2 years. Anyways, this here, Iron Crown, this is going off to grading. It is a pretty clear PSA 10. It does have a back print line, but PSA lets those slide. And the reason why I brought this card is because it falls in line with this idea of chasing the next set as the best set. When Temporal Forces came out, Iron Crown was the chase card of Scarlet and Violet. Crazy, right? Like, that's actually crazy. I can't remember the highs of that card, but I remember that it was the top card of all of Scarlet and Violet at that time. I mean, yes, even more than the Bubble Mew, y'all. Isn't that I'm gonna find prices of when Iron Crown was its highest and compare it to Bubble Mew, and I'm pretty sure that Iron Crown was more expensive than Bubble Mew. That's actually crazy. Wow, I'm just connecting those. Next set is the best set, y'all. Remember that. This is a good example of that. People didn't want Paldean Fates for some reason when that set came out, which is crazy. But yeah, that card was extremely expensive for its release, and it is now a $50 card, I think, maybe a little less. I can't remember what I paid for this, maybe 40. And that's a good example of being in the present. I just picked up that card. I've graded 2 of them so far. I think I have, no, I've graded 3. I have 2 in my collection still in 10s. And so I just really want to emphasize the joy of staying in the present. We have black and white. People are really focused on Black Bolt because I think a Seismitoad, which is scary to me. Do not buy that card, y'all. Please do not. But White Flare has been a lot more available, I've noticed, than Black Bolt, and I think it's because of that card. And Black Bolt and White Flare, they're going to be in print for a while. We have time. Destin Rivals is going to be in print for a while. We have time. That being said, I did just buy a booster box for $360 yesterday. Dollar cost averaging, y'all. That's my mindset. Dollar cost averaging. Joey's probably calling me a goofy for buying it at that price, but that's okay. I'll be a goofy for a day. There are other Scarlet and Violet sets that are more accessible or more obtainable. And I'm talking about singles, y'all. There's so many singles on the market. With the fact that Black Bolt and White Flare has an illustration rare for every Pokemon, those prices are going to come slowly down because there's so many of them. And only a handful are going to like really stick out. Seismitoad might always stick out. Do I think it'll always be the most expensive card from that set? Probably not. I know the Victini and the black-white rares, those cards are going to be always top chases. But there are a lot of really cheap illustration rares from that set. I've been buying from anywhere from $4 to $7 because the idea is for me to collect that whole illustration rare set along with the rest. I need to do an update video on my illustration rare binder, by the way, because it's almost there, and I have an idea that I want to talk about once I revisit that binder. By staying in the present, you're able to find cards that were once in this hype cycle echo chamber of everyone telling you that it's the most expensive card for XY reasons, but in reality it's just part of the cycle, and you should really try to reframe that sense of FOMO that you're having, because if you can reframe that idea of FOMO and fear of missing out, just accept that you're always going to miss out on something. But if you're chasing the latest and greatest, the next best thing, you are definitely going to miss out on something, but it's not what you think it is. You're going to miss out on sets that are just stagnant, that are sitting, like singles that are so cheap. Like I said, Scarlet and Violet base, there's tons of special illustration rares from Paldea Evolved that are still 40, 50 bucks. Tinglu, Chin-Pao, Wo-Chin, and Chi-Yu? Wo-Chin, Chin-Pao, Tinglu, Chin-Pao. Yeah, the ancient legendary Pokemon from Paldea Evolved. I think all of them are $80 or below raw. Oh no, in 10s. I'm sorry, in 10s. That's a almost $400 booster box if the last time I checked. Those are just graded cards. You want the singles? They're so cheap. The starters from Paldea Evolved, extremely cheap. All of them. Maybe Fuecoco line, like the Fuecoco is probably the most expensive illustration rare. And the special illustration rare, I don't think any of them are expensive. Like, they got to be all like sub $20. This is where things get really weird in the hobby, because Paldea Evolved is as expensive as it is because I think, honestly, just because of the Magikarp. Maybe Tyranitar, but most commonly talked about is that Magikarp. And I think about set value and how people are always just talking about the booster box itself. And comes a time where the booster box price really separates from the singles price, and it doesn't matter because the box itself becomes a collectible. But when you're kind of close to that in print window and you see that big of a gap in singles and sealed product, there's a problem there. And I don't know what that problem is exactly, but it's something to make note of. And there's always going to be parts of this hobby that you miss out on. But if like I said, if you're going after the latest and greatest, you are going to miss out on so many more things that you're not even paying attention to, because you're chasing the thing that's that shiny new thing that's in front of us, while there's plenty of beautiful cards that are in this hobby currently that are obtainable and well priced. Um, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I've been victim of FOMO buying into things. I know that we're in the biggest hype cycle I've ever seen this hobby in the last 5 years, but I try to take a step back and look at things that are potentially going out of print. I talked your ear off about 151 last week, and I won't go into that anymore. But there are sets that are aging, and spend time with those aged sets because they come and they go. I hate to sound this dark, but it's like spending time with your parents, spending time with your grandparents. You have less time with them than you do. I don't have kids, but with your kids, you know, normally, right? It's a dark. I'm sorry I went so dark with that, but like just think of that as an analogy. Or I think that's another light-hearted analogy is just that new phone cycle of like, oh, I just got this iPhone 14, 15, 16. I don't even know which one's the latest. But the new iPhone just got announced and it's super thin and it's got another camera, XYZ features, but like your phone's not that old and it has great tech. Just like sit with it and appreciate it for what it is. And yeah, I think that's really where I wanted to go with this. It's a lot of ranting back and forth. Another tip is just to like how to navigate that leak news culture is like reduce how many, you know, reduce how many channels you are interacting with when it comes to news outlets and content around new sets, new leaks, because if you do that, you're less likely to chase that carrot, right? So yeah, that's what I have for you today. Now I want to cut to the last part of this video, which is Q&A with y'all. Thank you to those who asked questions in the comments. I'm excited to answer some of these. First one is from Ice PCSD, and he asked, would you rather have a 151 UPC or a 151 PC ETB? And I can only have one. Now it's a tricky question because I think about the UPC, I think about the promos, I think about how many packs you get, I think about the product itself. But then I look at the Pokemon Center ETB and I think about its exclusivity. I love that word. It's so fun to say. Exclusivity. And I think about the promo that comes with that. If I could only have one as a collector, I think I would go with the Pokemon Center ETB. And I know that's crazy because you're getting nearly twice the packs in the UPC and you're getting that Mewtwo and Mew promo. And those are hard to... Okay, let me reframe this. This one's tough, Ice. You really got me with this one. As a collector, I think I would go with the UPC from just like a hobbyist, but if I think about it as like an investor, I think the Pokemon Center ETB is the way to go. It's extremely exclusive. There's no other way to get it other than from the Pokemon Center site. It's much rarer than the regular ETB, and I think it will do... I mean, it has. Like, we're looking at it now. It's crazy. It's like $1,000. That's actually crazy. I bought my case for $260 for the whole case. And I have 2 loose ETBs I paid retail for. $1,000. What are we doing? Ice, yeah, that's my answer. I know that's not the best answer, but if I had to choose one, If I had to choose one, I think I would go with the Pokemon Center ETB. All right, Pokemage87. He asked, I have been picking up early E Series PSA 9s of the EXs. The 10s have such a premium because they are super low pop. The 9s feel cheap to me. What do you think? I think those are great buys. I'm a PSA 9 vintage collector. I don't collect a lot of vintage 10s unless they have realistic prices. And I actually haven't been buying a lot of graded vintage as of late because I think the market is extremely. The market values these cards more than I do. There are some opportunities, but I like to stick to PSA 9s when I do collect vintage, and those early EXs are super underrated. I actually have Blastoise EX, Venusaur EX from Fire Red Leaf Green, and I was planning to get Charizard, but it's around like 2,000 now. But that card was like 900 to 1,000 when I was collecting these, and I love those EXs. I would love to have Gyarados and Gengar in 9, all of Fire Red Leaf Green, Mr. Mime too, I suppose. But those are in 9s, they look really good still. Typically it's maybe like a white dot on the corner that stopped them, and then sometimes they're more subtle than others. And the price differences between the 10s and the 9s are just insanely, like, they're gapped. They're like, and it just doesn't make sense. And I'm a value collector. I guess I have a buddy actually that's collecting every single EX in PSA 9, and he understands how much value and opportunity there is with those cards. And a lot of them fly under the radar. A lot of them are really cheap, like under 200 bucks. And I think that's fantastic for cards that were printed in 2003. They're over 20 years old. So yes, I think those early e-reader PSA 9s, the EXs, fantastic cards, great buys right now for sure. All right, the next question is from the real Pokey Hustle, and they ask, have you been collecting Black Bolt White Flare illustration rares? Which is your favorite in person so far? I think I kind of answered this in this Cards and Coffee, but yes, I definitely have. I've been picking up a lot of the cheaper ones that were anywhere from like $3 to $8. Uh, that just seems like a good price for illustration rares, especially when there's so many. I mean, there are going to be a few that stick out that are going to be a lot more expensive. But yeah, anytime I could find really nice minty copies, I pick them up as long as they're well priced. And in that, $3 to $10 window is fine with me. My favorite, I think my favorite illustration rare, this is so random, but it's Ducklet. And it's the one where it's like three ducklets, and the perspective is kind of like from underwater. So you can see like their feet in the water, but you also see the perspective of them from above the water, and they're like looking in. It's such a unique perspective. I love that card. I never really paid much attention to Ducklet, and that's another reason why I love it so much, is because illustration rares have just given us new life into Pokemon that we didn't necessarily care so much about, and that's still one that I need. So I'm hoping I pick that up soon. Thanks for asking that question. The last question you hear is from Ucinematic4474. What do you think about the future of languages apart from English, Chinese, and Japanese? I collect in German because I can get product easier. I imagine first edition French and German getting big because of their rarity in the future. Uh, I think you should always collect what you love, and especially if you collect in German. I'm not necessarily sure if you're German or you're from Germany, uh, but I've always felt like you should probably collect in the language that you grew up with. There's just something nostalgic about that. I don't know if you grew up with German Pokemon cards. I do think that first edition French and German cards are rare. There's always going to be someone that wants them. Like, I know that there's people that want to collect every Charizard in every language, and I can only imagine that those were probably printed a lot less than English internationally. Uh, and there's some unique things about French and I believe it's French and Italian cards and sealed product. I mentioned it in one of my other videos that there are Team Rocket French blisters, and things like that are rare, niche, but there is a collector for it. Now, the future of those languages, I think the demand will always stick to English and Japanese, like for the majority. But as people stick with this hobby and start to find their lanes, their pockets in what they like to collect, their niche, they start going down that rabbit hole and they find other languages that they want to collect. Henry's Poke Corner has done that himself. He's gone into Taiwanese. He's gone into Korean. He's going into Chinese. But I don't think they will ever reach the level of value that English and Japanese do, just because those are the markets that are the most broad and most well known to new and old collectors. But like I said, collecting what you enjoy, I think Ern said this, that collectors get paid. And it's because people that collect what they like and they hold it, they tend to do pretty good in terms of value. So that's a great question. I'd love to know what German and French cards you have. So in the next video, please let me know what some of your favorite German and French cards from your collection. To everyone else, feel free to drop a coffee emoji, ask me anything. I'd love to answer more questions. This was a fun part that I'm excited to continue with. Until next time, happy collecting. Peace, y'all.